Fellow book people, today I'm going to do Memento Mori's book postscript tag of 2018. Seems like a great year-end kind of thing to do, year-end wrap-up thing to do, and I don't want to do a big long thing, so I'll do a big long thing this way. So the questions are, however many questions are. Number one, the longest book you read this year, and the book that took you the longest to finish. That's probably both cases, the brothers Karamazov, which I have done 4 videos. There's a fifth video that will someday come up. I finished reading the book. I just never got to that 5th video, and I think I want to actually reread section 5 and sink in even longer into the book. So this is 718 pages long. Constant Gardner, oh man. See, now I Constant Garnet translation, and so that was probably my longest book of the year, the one that I took the most time with, many senses. The longest book that felt like the longest was probably Italian Ways, which was only 288 pages, which was an Italian travelogue book through railways, written by, I believe, Tim Parks, which really frustrated me and took so long, felt subjectively so long, that I skim read to the end and then did a very, very ranty review on. So yes, there's my enjoyable long read, and then this book felt like it took forever long read. A book that you read in 2018 that was outside of your comfort zone. That's probably, I guess, Fear. It's, Trump in the White House. So it's a political book, a book on politics, which a lot of times I'm not into. But actually that book was once I got into that book, Bob Woodward is great hands to be in if you're going to be doing something like that. Was actually a comfortable book once I got into it. It was uncomfortable going in, but it's like, oh God, do I want to spend a whole book with Donald Trump and Trump's White House and what's happening there? But actually once I got into that was quite an enjoyable book. I don't have the picture of it. Probably the book that was most outside of my comfort zone was On Reading Well, Finding the Good Life Through Great Books by Karen Swallow Prior, which very much comes at reading kind of from the assumption of a Christian, of kind of a very evangelical Christian, and reading classics through the virtues, and a lot of these being the religious virtues, which Karen Swallow Prior, as a Christian, doesn't believe that you have access to if you're not a Christian. So that was definitely outside of my comfort zone, and I kind of criticized the book for why these virtues, justify them to me, which I think is a part of the reason why it was outside of my comfort zone, is because she was addressing a different audience. It wasn't addressed to me, and for that case, I was very uncomfortable. And sometimes I wonder, was I fair to the book because it didn't make its case properly to me? It made assumptions about who I was going to be. I was going to be a Christian reading this book, and I wasn't. So yeah, that's probably the book that was most outside of my comfort zone. I was still actually a rewarding book, and Prior is someone who's using those virtues, did actually kind of illuminate some of the works. The Death of Ivan Ilyich being kind of a primary one there for me of going through that book. Number 3, how many books did you reread in 2018? There were 2 Shakespeare plays. There were Shake Tubathon, which was a kind of a readathon of Shakespeare plays and the sonnets, some sonnets for me. So I did 2 of the plays there I reread. One was a kid's book, This Can't Be Happening at MacDonald Hall by Gordon Corman. Which was a lot of fun to just kind of reread something that I'd only read way back in my youth. Wave of Mutilation by Douglas Lane, which will come up later in this thing, but was a book that I had to reread because I remembered enjoying it, but I also couldn't get a handle on it. I didn't get a grasp of it, so it was a really good book to actually go back and reread. And number 5 was The Color of Magic by Terry Pratchett, which Graham Quigley did a Discember read one Terry Pratchett book, and I decided I'm going to start reading Terry Pratchett again, and of course I'm going to start it from the very beginning of The Color of Magic, and I really enjoyed that. Now, number 4 was, what was your favorite reread of 2018? And that would be Wave of Mutilation, just because I feel like I got so much more out of this book. It's kind of a quasi kind of science fiction kind of thought experiment book of this fellow's back in Tennessee for his father's funeral, and he's at this atomic bomb exhibit, and the phone rings, and it's the ghost of his father saying that, you know, there's been a split in the world, and unreality is seeping in, and this is in the cusp of the 2000 and whatever election of Bush and Gore, and when they didn't know who was going to win, and you know, it's got bizarre stuff in it. It's like his pregnant wife turns out to be kind of like hollow inside, and she's spitting up eggs, and they go back to Portland, and any book that's got Portland in it as a hipster doofus wannabe, you know, I gotta love a book that's got lots of Portland in it, and it's a book that, you know, it's sort of anti-plot, this is a book where this is very metafictional. I think they actually reference in the book, and I see now my memory is going again, of whether, you know, they reference the children's book Grover from Disney, from Sesame Street, talking about he's got this picture book, and Grover is really afraid because there's going to be a monster at the end of the book, and Grover knows he's in a book, and he's a character in a book, and it's like these characters know they're characters in a story. They're aware of the metafictional thing, and so it was a lot of fun on a lot of different levels, very intellectual, very surreal, really still sticks with me, still something I like, I want to mull over. So that was definitely my favorite reread. A book that you read for the first time in 2018 that you look forward to reading in the future, and that would definitely be Less by Andrew Sean Greer, which I, of course, oh god, here, would be Less by Andrew Sean Greer, which, ooh, I don't know if you can see it. There's a fellow falling through the air, which was a Pulitzer Prize winner for 2018. And it was a book that pissed me off when I read it first. And the more I thought about it, the more I went, this book pissed me off for a reason. And it's a beautifully written book. It's this gay mid-list author who's been informed that, yeah, we're not going to publish your next book. And it's sort of like he's put upon in this world, and it's like, you know, I'm a sad white guy, and it's like, but no one cares about me anymore. Does gay count for being, you know, being something special that people will care about in the literary world as a hook? It's like, no, people don't care about that anymore. And it's like sort of this like, oh, you know, and which pissed me off in a way, but it also it's a wonderful kind of taking apart of what we value, what wins awards, and that Less won the Pulitzer that year is definitely a statement on its own from the judges of how they view how you can view prize winners, or what's worthy, or what gets taken, people pay attention to. And indeed, it was probably one of the least paid attention to prize winners, it seems to me, in current years for the Pulitzer, for people who pay attention to stuff like that. So yeah, I'd like to reread that book. So that was definitely my thing. Your favorite short story, number 6, your favorite single short story or novella that you read in 2018. And that would be A Sharp Shock by Kim Stanley Robinson, which he's a science fiction author. And it's this story of a fellow washing up on a beach of this strange world that is basically, it's all beach. It rims around, which I think if you know Kim Stanley Robinson and his fascination with coastal stuff, that makes a lot of sense. But this is also kind of a fever dream. I think the best novellas seem to have that kind of, could be kind of this dream logic sort of thing to them. And so that would definitely be my favorite novella of the year. Number 7, Mass Appeal, the book which you liked and would recommend to a wide variety of readers. Of course, I guess I would have to say, you know, the one that won would be Fear, which is Trump in the White House by Bob Woodward, because that is one of the monster books of the season. And indeed, was one of the ones that was, you know, that's one of those books. Funnily enough, it doesn't seem to be a book that I've seen a lot of discussion about on BookTube about. And political books in general, I don't know if it's just sort of one of these things of the internet and stuff like that is so toxic that if we all got into a discussion of this, we'd bring the hordes down upon our quiet little book world. So maybe it's for the best that isn't the book that everyone is talking about on BookTube. And maybe it doesn't need to be talked about because, you know, everyone is buying it already. Not that seems to change things. Probably for me though, I would say Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. Which is this it's I like, it's set in Victorian London. There's Sue Tinder, who's at the center of the story, is this orphan who's raised by like a baby farmer, and Fingersmith is, she's like, it's like, the thievery kind of like artful dodger kind of, that kind of Oliver Twist kind of feel to it. And indeed, it's a book that has all these wonderful twists in it, and the thing that makes all this plot twist wonderful is that they resonate with the characters. And I'm not going to say anything more about that, and I would just highly recommend it. And if you don't listen to me, listen to Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse, who is the one who set me upon this. And indeed, I used it as kind of a cornerstone for my Jay Shea-a-thon, my readathon, where I read books all by myself and went away from the internet for a while. And that was indeed the cornerstone of that, and it's definitely a book I would press upon other people as just a fun, gripping read. So number 8, specialized appeal, a book that you like but would be hesitant to recommend to just anyone, and that again would be Wave of Mutilation by Douglas Lane, which has the most hideous cover in the world, but is a book that I would recommend to Mark Nash, which, if any of you out there have know Mark Nash's channel, which is how I know Mark Nash, you would know that he is a man of particular taste. And this is a book that I would actually, after having read the sample of I Hate the Internet, which is one of his favorite books, I would recommend this book to Mark Nash as a metafictional, challenging, intellectual, kind of plotless book, which is, I think, right up his alley. Maybe is a nice contradistinction to Fingersmith, which is very much plot and character, which is not to say I don't love either. I don't love both of them, but they both have their own different pleasures to them. So yes, that would be my answer. It would be Wave of Mutilation by Douglas Lane. So Mark, if you're listening, that's the book for you to read. Why you would listen to me, I have no clue. Number 9, reflect on your year as a bookish content creator. My content has been created. I have punked out content throughout. This is my first full year, I guess, on BookTube. I started, I think, in December of last year. And as goals met, my goal was to review books, was to read my books and review them. And it's funny looking back over, because I kind of look back over my books, through the year, and it's like, this is a year where I actually really remember those books. I can really remember what I read and how I felt about them. And it's because each book I took and I talked about it here, and I had to formulate my thoughts. I had to think about it. I had to kind of rethink about it. And that really helped and deepened my enjoyment of literature. So, on that basis, my goal succeeded. I reviewed the books I read, which, I think I've almost mastered the 20-25 minute review. And so I might start trying to switch to this funny genre of shorter reviews. We'll see if I'll check in with you next year if that actually is a thing, or if I fail spectacularly. But hopefully I will succeed in continuing to review the books, because that's my BookTube. My BookTube is, I read a book and I review about it, and then I come and I try and think about it and formulate actual coherent thoughts and talk about them to you. And I hope that's been engaging for, I don't expect a bunch of people to be interested in my review of Wave of Mutilation or Fingersmith. And you shouldn't watch my review of Fingersmith until you've actually read the book, by the way. That's totally forbidden to actually read anything about Fingersmith before you've read it. Just go to Jason and see the light in his eyes of Old Blues Chapter and Verse. See the light in his eyes when he talks about the book, and I think that'll hopefully give you the encouragement to pick up that book and read it. So, and the good memories, definitely Fingersmith and Jay Shea-a-thon, of just kind of going away and just doing kind of a read. And Shake-Tubathon of getting to go through Shakespearean plays for a whole month with sprinkling in some sonnets, and how all the plays talk to each other. That was amazing. I really loved that. That gave me that feel of being back in university and having an amazing professor of Shakespeare. And you guys were the fellow booktubers, especially the people who hosted that. Luke Ash at Totally Pretentious, Jason at Old Chapters, Old Blues Chapter and Verse, Steve Donahue, and somebody else who I apologize for right now because I should never try and talk off the top of my head. But getting into Shakespeare and everyone's different opinions of Shakespeare and everyone's different readings of Shakespeare. I really enjoyed that. Also, Boldly Go November and Pentathon by Paperback Junkie. I think if I found an ideal guy for doing readathons, that, and Graham Quigley, who I think got his inspiration from Paperback Junkie, Matt at Paperback Junkie, of doing very casual readathons where it's not like trying to suck up all the oxygen of my reading time, and I really enjoyed that. For bad memories, I guess we talk about community on here, and I think the bad memories or whatever of BookTube, for me, it's one of these things of the great thing about community is when you're all together, but the bad memory is like, I started off Christmas kind of depressed about Christmas and my own issues outside of BookTube, about Christmas. And so I wasn't watching Christmas videos, and I missed the entire start of Litmus from, the Split Lit, whatever the hell those guys' names are at the moment, the Litmus dudes. If I'm even getting Litmus versus, whatever. I skipped all of that, and I came to it very, very late because I was just like, I can't handle Christmas stuff at the moment. And it's funny because what brought me back was probably Jason at Old Blues Chapter and Verse. He's really figuring in on my end of the year here, probably because it's the punchy at the end. He read A Christmas Carol, and that really, really brought things back into me, of the story of a fellow who was self-isolated in his own greed and stuff like that, and that but at the end of the story he needed to kind of deal with his own shit to be able to just simply step into a community that was more than ready. His nephew was more than ready to welcome him with open arms. So that was a very touching part of a Christmas story to me. And it wasn't actually, when I think of that story, that's not where I think of like the moral of the story being, but that thing of just self-isolation, and that you're kind of getting in your own way, and that could be the thing that kind of bars you from a community. So thank you, Jason. Thank you for that. And a side note, thank you to Kelly for being as someone who who was in kind of addictions and kind of counseling stuff, of knowing that this is the tough part of the year, and kind of always remembering to kind of hold out branches to people who are kind of maybe feeling blue at this time of year, which, I'm sure it's kind of unavoidable that all of us, to one extent or another, have regrets at this time of year, as much as we have the joys and the loveliness of getting to be with people that we love. So yes, that's, I think I'm gonna end with there. I'm gonna end by just tagging some fellow bookish content creators, some fellow people on the internet that I know. Jaguar Cat Lit. I really love you being in your just casual videos in the kitchen. That's to me is the kind of the BookTube I think I really enjoy. I'm always listening to your videos in the kitchen, usually after work when I'm getting together my plate of veggies to eat before I go to bed. Onyx Pages, who who commented on my review of Freshwater, which I forgot to mention, which is just this amazing book by Akaweke Emetse, which go to Sean the Book Maniac and hear him gush about that book. I'll just leave it at that, or take a look at my review. God, that was such a good book as well. So many good books. The Blog of Obvious Things, which I kind of met through my NaNoWriMo experience, which is another good memory of this year. Jason at Weird Reads, just, another dude on the internet trying to talk about books. And PK's Books, who I've just recently subscribed to and been listening to his videos. And there's just this soft, intelligent voice, which is another just, gift to BookTube. So yes, that is my reflections, my postscript on 2018. Who knows? Maybe there'll be another review before the end of the year. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see how things go as they always do. More videos later. 20 minutes. I can't help myself. Bye.